Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Paul Yankey, the founder of paulyankey.com, a coaching and training platform dedicated to helping purpose-driven men unlock their full leadership potential. With a mission to help men become deeply rooted leaders and visionaries, Paul blends biblical wisdom, entrepreneurial insight, and personal transformation into his unique coaching methodology. He's cultivated a strong personal brand and online presence to support high-performing men in business, faith, and family. Paul, welcome to Founders Future.
Mar, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I was looking forward to talking with you.
Me too. I'm excited to dive in. I always like to start from the beginning. Take us on a little trip down memory lane to before you started your company. What were you doing at the time? And then what was really the motivation behind starting your coaching business?
Thanks. And I appreciate being able to give a context. I think it might be helpful. So, I was raised in an entrepreneurial business home. My father was a conservative CPA business leader, and that had a huge impact on me. And I always knew I was more creative. I was more relational than some of that was going to offer me. My studying was in finance. That's what my degree was. I moved to Silicon Valley and then I got my MBA there. But along this path, I kept finding myself wanting and needing and seeing how to connect more with people and their true, what really drives them. And I've had a passion to understand that in my life. I
Mm.
went on to have a 30-year career in sales for some large companies and some agile startups. But it was when my last startup that I was with they sold, they had a liquidation event, and I had an opportunity to pause and say, how do I really want to make a real positive and lasting impact in the world? And that took me down a few paths. I started to raise my hand and say yes to things. I got deeply involved with our city's suicide prevention efforts. And I started speaking with companies about what I was calling selling with love, because I really think that's something that we desperately need as a society, as a business world that we're in. And that's what's really led me to where I am now. Of it's progressed to where I started to see as I talked with people, as I engaged with them, as I heard their stories, as I shared stories, lessons learned, and tools possibly taken away from that actually this was of immense value to people, and even started to be where they wanted to pay for that. And so this kind of came about somewhat naturally,
Yeah,
and here I am.
that's powerful. So it sounds like the demand picked up and then you saw the demand and you were like, oh, I could start a business from this.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. There's this idea of creating your platform.
Yeah.
And I'm quite attuned with the marketing world. I teach on marketing today. But I got to tell you how this all came about for me. It was anything but looking to form a platform. It just started
Mhm.
to happen.
Yeah.
And I started to piece together, okay, hey, I've had this career where I've had success and I've had failure, and
Mm.
I've grown from that and I've learned things from that. And there's power and there's value in sharing that with others. I currently do it with a lot of my students at the university, and I'm open about it. And the thing is, I've reached a point in my life to where I'm not only okay to share the journeys that I've been on, but I'm also not afraid to ask the hard questions and to
Mm.
help people dig deeper, even within themselves. Not looking to necessarily advise on what to do with their lives per se, but to helping them to be able to see the truths of what's going on. So my second book, my first book was a textbook. It just came out, and I'm now seeing that there's a platform has formed to
Mm.
start to share some of this and to bring in other people, to bring in other lessons for a message that's really desperately needed.
That's powerful. So you're a professor right now, if I'm not mistaken. And then
Correct.
you've also got paulyankey.com.
Correct.
Got it. So let's dive into the business a little bit. And then I would love to expand on some of the concepts that you touched upon. But just to give the listeners more context, with paulyankey.com, who would you say is your ideal customer? Who do you love to work with? And then from there, what are the different offers and services that you provide?
I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but it's very difficult when you have a message you're passionate about and that you think is needed by the world to focus it down.
Mm,
It's hard and
I
it's
get,
painful. That being said, what I have come to see is the area where I can add and make perhaps the greatest impact and positive impact is right now, particularly with people that are leading sales teams or are starters of companies or leaders of companies that have a heart mindset that want to ignite and bring strength and bring back belief, bring back energy into their sellers so that they're being energized by things that are why they got into it in the first place from a good point of view, not just compensation, although that follows in spades once you engage with actually doing what I call heart selling.
yeah. What does that mean? What does hard selling mean to you?
Being true, being true and actually going with your own convictions and coming from a place of more the brotherly type. Love is a big word. There's a lot of definitions, a lot of types of love. I'm sure we've all heard some of them, agape, what have you. But when you engage with that brotherly love aspect of truly wanting to do good for the person that you're serving, and
Mm,
that can be the person that you're selling to, it can be the person that you're working with, people in your life. But when you come from that reservoir of energy, it's different.
yeah,
It's a different engagement. You're actually starting to look and see how can I help this person, this organization, how can I help them be better at what they're doing in a good way, make a more positive impact.
yeah.
So I got passionate there for a second, so I forgot some of your question, but
It's perfect. I was just asking, what does like selling with love and hard selling mean to you? Because
yeah,
I think that's very powerful, and we have a lot of business owners that listen to this. A lot of them run the sales themselves, or maybe they have one or two sales reps. So I would love for you to expand a little bit further on selling with love, how people can actually connect to that reservoir of energy, and why do you feel like so many people operate from a place of fear as opposed to love?
let me start by saying that we all have our purposes, our reasons for doing things. Actually, I'll even take a step back. So I think one of the things that starts all of us in some way, shape, or form is what do we believe? What do we believe about life? Now, in my case, whenever I'm privileged to be able to talk to business leaders or to sellers, you usually don't have to look too hard to figure out that I'm coming from what many would call, and I'm careful to say this, but more of a Christian point of view. And that's
Mm.
my background. That's my upbringing. And that's some, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. And so that's me. And by the way, on that path, I always tell anyone, you ever want to talk about my journey on that? I am ready to talk all day long about it. But the point is that I say from that you're all coming from some belief set. You're all coming from something that is your foundation. And if anything, my encouragement to people today is make sure you're still always looking at your foundation. And if you need to dig deeper, you want to understand more. I'm a big believer that at the end of the day, if we're all pursuing the truth, we're going to see each other again. So that's something that I try to encourage and uplift with people. But beyond that, then you get to your purpose. And once you have engagement with your purpose, that's when the energy really starts to come. More of an artesian versus a well you have to pump. It's
Mm,
just naturally coming. And my hunch is anyone listening to this, you know what I'm talking about. You know those times in your life, expressions are out there, you've been in flow or things are just clicking. You're doing what in your own way you're made to do. And
yeah,
that's when a powerful energy emerges that just helps propel you forward. And yes, that absolutely can exist in sales. It can very much. And when you have that, you're coming at it a whole different tangent. You're embracing with the person, you're embracing with the goal. You're not looking at it as a sale, but you're looking at it as how can I help this person or this organization succeed? And it helps you feel better about yourself and it helps you be able to be better with other people in your life.
yeah.
So tangibly, there's things that are very explicit about this. You need to be true to your own convictions. And I openly share, for example, in my book, one of the hardest things for me to reconcile with, and one of the reasons that the book took so long to come out, I had to personally acknowledge that I needed to own some of my own stuff. some of my own lack of standing up for my own convictions or having enough self-respect to say, no, I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't know if some can relate to this. I was raised in a day and time when, to use the word boss, when your boss said jump, the answer was how high. And
Yeah.
that's how I carried a lot of my career. And that did help me succeed. But I think it also did it at a huge cost to me as a person at different times. And thankfully, I've been able to come full circle with that and see it. And if I can help empower others to see that as well, I think that's a tremendous win. And it's going to allow them to have a more fulfilled life.
Yes, yes, that's my favorite part of everything that you're talking about is it doesn't just bleed into business, but it bleeds into all aspects of just you as a human being, the way that you move, the way that you show up. I wrote three things as you were talking: belief systems, faith, purpose. And personally, I've been in sales for a very long time. And when I discovered this, it was Power versus Force, David R. Hawkins, levels of energy, and realizing that love operates very high on the map of consciousness. And the higher you are, the higher your paradigm is, the more things you're going to magnetically attract into your life that are in alignment with that frequency. So I would love for you to touch upon what are some practical, tactical ways that people can't step into that heart mindset, step into that frame of selling with love.
One thing that I've found is I'll sometimes be asked, oh, hey, can you come in and help my sales team learn how to sell better?
Yeah.
And it's okay. But what I don't think they're really asking is it starts a whole lot before any tactics. And by the way, it's not about tactics today. It's not about a script. It's about being genuine. I think in today's day and age, more than ever, trust is going to become the differentiator. Genuineness, authenticness is going to be what's going to separate businesses from other businesses and take things forward in a positive way. I will very much bet that's going to be the case as we move forward. And oftentimes when I'm in such a scenario talking to a leader of a business, sometimes she or he will take me aside and say, hey, so what do we really need to do to get this idea of heart-based selling going? And I chuckle because the first thing I do is I turn to him and I say, you first have to really care. You have to genuinely and deeply care. And sometimes it's actually funny to see the face expression. Many times there's a lot of people that say, you bet, I'm all in. Other times it's a pause. And I think that it needs to be said. And then they even need to consider that in themselves of, am I willing to put the value of people over a business? Am I willing to put the value of making sure that people are, I was going to say fulfilled, and that is a component of it. But there's a part to where there's a responsibility for a business, and there's a part where it's responsibility of a person. And that's something that's often an interesting balance, especially in today's day and age. But where we go with this is, let me give you an example. This is one I had come across this years ago. I wish I could give the exact reference of who, but it's a sales methodology. It's an engagement methodology that goes way beyond sales. It's how people even, you can use this in your personal life anytime you want. And it's POGO. Some of you have heard this. I've seen it stand for personal organizational goals and obstacles. Personal organizational goals and obstacles. And the key thing I'm going to say there is you start out, and each one's very critical and important and needs to be real. So Ammar, when you and I see each other and we start talking, I want to first say hi and understand, how are you? What's going on in your life? And we don't have to make this always a huge thing, but you know what? There's times where it needs to be a huge thing. And I tell you what, if you can't get to a point of where things are leveled with that, there's no value in going on to the others. You need to just address a person where they're at, but it's personal, organizational. What's going on with your organization? If I'm talking to you personally, Ammar, it's, hey, what's going on in your life? What are things you're working on? What are things you're doing for fun? And then with that, it's goals. What are your goals with that? Where do you want to be in a week, a month, a year, 10 years? And then what's getting in the way for that, of causing that to happen? And if you go through these steps, you've just did a very nice, genuine understanding of a person, of a business. What are their pains? Where are their goals? And what's getting in the way of that? Now, maybe you have a solution that might be able to help with it.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I always want to say, be careful. I think a hammer is the answer to everything.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I love that frame. I love that frame. And something that I've always used in my career is my job when I'm talking to this person is to figure out, can we help them? Yes or not? And if the answer is yes, my job is to help them get over their own beliefs that might be holding them back. And if the answer is no, my job is to just point them in the right direction. I want what's truly best for that person. And sometimes it's not going with us, and that's perfectly fine. And I
I love
think,
that about you, Ammar, and I love that philosophy. And I think that's what you asked a little bit before about what are the elements of fear or
mm,
things that are pressuring you. I think it's maybe a good time to insert that. So, having worked with a lot of large companies, I've been in very advanced, very structured sales teams. I've led sales teams, and there's an element, I will just say, it's all about the number. That's what it becomes, is all about the number. The purpose, the meaning, all of this, we can put nice words around it. That's gone.
yeah,
It's about making the sale. And you are in a position of where, whether or not it's absolutely set or not, you know that your job is in jeopardy if you don't achieve the expectations that are put before you.
yeah,
Now, I'm all for growth. I'm all for advancing business, of course. And guess what? There is times where we need to be held accountable and actions need to be done. All these things that help us improve and make better.
of
But in the
course.
same token, you don't need to be under that pressure where you're terrified of your job being gone and not
Mm,
being able to provide food for you or your family. And I just think an analogy that keeps coming up for me, and Monsters Inc., the movie Monsters Inc., where in the beginning they were extracting energy from terrifying people, terrifying kids. And then they found they could actually get a whole lot more energy by making them laugh.
yeah,
This is a little bit different, but it's the same idea. And you get way more energy when you actually engage the heart and connect with someone else.
100%. And I think if the good analogy, or I think there's two analogies that come in my mind when it comes to that, is you can get more out of your sales team by focusing on the things that we're talking about as opposed to fear. And it's like you have to hit these metrics because of XYZ. And then also with the prospects, when you can get more out of it if you approach it with a frame of true service as opposed to I need to close this person. But hey, let me come and serve this person. I love that. I
Well,
love that.
well,
That's
someone
why
else
I knew this was going to be a fun conversation.
thought so too.
I'd love to shift a little bit to the back end of the business because we have a lot of coaches and consultants that listen to this. So when it comes to the client acquisition and bringing more people or more clients into your firm, what does that currently look like?
This is an interesting one because, okay, I am figuring it out, but let me unpack that.
Okay.
So I know the things to do, as I imagine people listening know the things to do.
Mm,
So with the release of my book, I've started to do something I really haven't done much before. And that's that I've started to post on social media.
nice.
I will tell you that I've been encouraged by my publisher to do that. So I've been starting to do it. And I'm fine with that. I do videos, things of that nature, giving context of the book, that kind of thing. And I'm figuring that out. I'm seeing how I like that or I don't like that. Because to me, the second I start to feel I'm not being true to who I am, I'm
Yeah.
not comfortable with it. Now, I will push through some of that when you need to push through it. So, for example, I'm told, oh, hey, if someone leaves a comment, you need to comment back to them right away. Okay.
Mm,
So I will tell you, I've been doing that.
yeah.
Right. Then it started to reach a point to where I felt like I was doing it because I was supposed to do it.
Mm,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I have been thankful that I've been able to have referrals. I've been able to have people that I know that I'm reaching out to how to expand it from there, paid ads, things of that nature. I have purposely not done that yet, and I don't know that I will. However, I do have big plans for what we're going to do. I'm all about amplifying this message to the world,
Got
and
it.
that's going to take a lot more than me.
100%. Why do you feel like why would you not do paid ads?
Some of my research that I've investigated with it have said that it's that they've people have found in a similar type format have not found it worthwhile.
Got it. Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a fact, but in
Yeah.
doing some of my marketing research, and I may experiment with it.
Yeah.
So one of the classes I teach is marketing research, and there is a whole scientific method to it for sure. And there's a lot of data you can leverage. I still am a believer that sometimes it's one of those strategy is eaten by breakfast. Help me with it's, you know what I'm saying? It's strategy is, it's the bottom line is you can have plans, but
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
when you get into the fighting ring, it's a whole different deal.
for sure. Oh, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, something
Thank
like
you.
that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. I got tongue twisted with but the point is that I still think there's nothing that really replaces sometimes trying things
Yes.
and just seeing. So, Ammar, may I try paid advertising? I may.
Yeah.
I may. I've been inundated with people reaching out to me wanting to provide leads and to set up appointments. I'm sure others can relate to that. And I think to myself, okay, I've gotten to where I send back a nice message thanking them. And I simply say, I'm all about it being a revenue share model. So if I get paid, I want you to get paid. But other than that, I some of that's just my experience of where I don't know that it's going to be really worth my time.
Yeah, fair enough. I'd love to share with you some perspectives after because we've had a tremendous amount of success with paid ads. And
Okay.
it's
I have
really
things to learn.
yeah, yeah. It's
And
really
that's actually, if I could, that's one thing I really want to make clear. I came to this, I had the privilege of listening to a few of your interviews with others and other interviewers from your organization. And I found myself so impressed with the caliber of people, their character. And I thought I purposely wanted to come to this and I'm going to admit my mistakes. I'm going to say things that I don't know what to do with. And I'm coming at it from some of it you could say I should, but I'll be the first to say as I'm going about this on my own personal journey, I'm figuring it out and I'm
slow.
trying things. And so to hear that, I really am intrigued to understand how I can amplify this desperate message that is needed to be out in the world.
I completely agree. And I think that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is if you approach it from a personal development standpoint, you can truly build your character in ways that I don't think a lot of other disciplines force you to, if that makes sense.
It does. It
Walk me
does.
through.
And you can grow it. It's a muscle. You keep
Yep,
working on it.
100%. When you think of your vision and where you want to take this message, what kind of impact you want to have on the world, what does that look like?
A wild ride story that I'll keep very brief. So I went to high school in New York and connections happened years later. And it turns out one of my classmates is the ambassador for the US in Uzbekistan. And I had gone out there and I did some teaching to a few universities out there. And then, ironically, someone else that I knew through college is now in an ambassador role in Brazil. And I look at these things and I start to think these connections are interesting. It's just, and I don't, when I say interesting, I mean, I'm thinking there's more going on here than it
Mm,
just happening. So I say that to say this message I know is actually, it's far more desperately needed to be heard in other parts of the world than
mm,
even in the United States. So there's one me. Yes, there's some beauty and value to technology. Yes, I am in the process right now of creating some, I'm so hesitant to call it courses, but I'm going to call it courses of some
right.
things that can help with mindset, that can help with tactics, that can help with tools that you can leverage every day. And those are going to be coming out. And so I'll be doing some of that mainly because it allows the message to be amplified more and not just dependent upon me physically. In the same token, my desires are to be going all around the world, delivering this message and igniting and inspiring people and encouraging them, because that's one of the things that I absolutely am put here on the earth to do. So, Paul Yankey is going to be going all over to be able to deliver this message. And what I've done now with my book is I've sent it to key leaders that I've worked with in the past or that I currently have a great deal of respect for and see a connection of mindset and a personal note and personal card and explaining how I'd love to talk with them further. But really, it's more to give them the book because I think it's an important message to come out. So I see this as being global, and I see there's a lot of work to do to get it there.
How can people grab a copy of that book?
Thank you. The name of the book, I should have said that it's Free, the Only Way to Sell, Free, the Only Way to Sell. And it's available on Amazon and also on Barnes and Noble.
Free, the only way to sell.
Yes.
Perfect. I love that. If you were talking to new entrepreneurs and you could give them a piece of advice, maybe something that you wish you knew when you were first starting off, what would that be?
I would first encourage them to take a breath.
Mm,
I'd also encourage them to be very cognizant of what they're telling themselves about themselves. I will tell you right now, if you're listening to this, you have a drive in you. You have
mm,
something that's making you want to make the world better and yourself better. And I think there's honor in that. And
yeah.
I just want to highlight for you that you've come so far to be where you are today. Don't underestimate that. Don't diminish that. And be very careful about what you're saying to yourself. You have immense value to offer this world. I can say that with confidence that whoever is hearing this, you have a reason for being here and you have immense value. And I encourage you to look to amplify that. My practical guidance would be start with consistency.
Mm,
Start with doing something every day that's consistent. And I'm a big fan in the aspect of you got to get your body moving.
yes.
Exercise it's not just exercise. It has a whole lot more to do with your mindset, with your psyche, with how you approach things than you might even think. That doesn't mean you need to be a marathon runner. Doesn't mean that you need to be a power lifter, but you're doing it. I'll share with you. My body has been in recovery from some training. In the
Mm,
last year, Ammar, it's been tough, but I've just been going to the gym for me. And sometimes, really truthfully, I'm not doing a whole lot of anything.
yeah.
I'm just getting on the bike sometimes just for a little bit. But to me, it's keeping that consistently going. And if you are an exerciser, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, I encourage you, just look to even start with walking 100 yards a day. It doesn't, the content's not so much the point, but you're getting it down, you're getting a routine. I think you'll be blown away at the psychological positive impact that'll have on you.
1000%. I love everything that you just brought up. One of my favorite quotes is your physiology directly affects your psychology. So the
Hmm.
way that you move, the way that you breathe has a direct impact on the way that you think and the way that you feel. And I'm a big fan of exercise. I'm huge into it. But I'm also a big fan of state management and managing your
Mm-hmm.
state throughout the day. I literally bought a mini trampoline last week.
Love
It's
it.
there. It's right there. And I
Love
just
it.
in between calls, I'll just bounce on it. And it's hard to be in a bad mood when you're bouncing on a trampoline. But I love what you said with be careful about what you're telling yourself about yourself. Story that is playing in your mind of my life, what's happened, where I am, where I'm going, what that means for me as a person. And for me, a big paradigm shifting moment was realizing that I can actually change that story. That there's no such thing, or there's very few things that are just facts in life. It's all kind of a belief system that we choose to hold. And we can have that story be in alignment with where we want to go. Yeah, I love
May I just briefly touch on a story that I think hits a lot of this?
it.
You all may be familiar with this idea of a flea. If you don't know what a flea is, it's a very small little tiny bug.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It can have immense jumping capability. It can jump to 7 feet tall, and it's this teeny tiny little bug. You take a flea and you put it in a jar. And if you put a cap on it, it's going to jump and hit the cap. After
Mm-hmm.
just a few times, it realizes it can't jump any higher. Now you can take the cap off and it won't jump out of that container.
Wow.
The really wild thing, and really think about this, let this blow your mind for a second. That trait, that understanding is then transferred to its offspring, which is just wild to think about.
What?
I challenge anyone listening to this,
God.
you have so much more capability. And that's not to say you got to go do, like I said, a marathon or whatever, but I just
Yeah.
at least entertain that idea. Wow, maybe I can jump a whole lot higher than I'm thinking I can jump. I just hope that inspires you.
That's powerful. I love that. I knew the first part, but I didn't know that it gets passed down.
Yeah, yeah, wild.
That's powerful. Paul, what's the best way for people to reach out to you, to work with you, to just chat with you? What does that look like?
And thanks for saying the chat part because I'm open to that. It's paulyankey.com. You can go to paul@paulyankey.com. That's my email. Very simple. And Paul Yankey, Yankey. It's like a key that opens the door. KEE also will go to me, but paulyankey.com.
And are there any final words that you want to leave us off with before we wrap up?
I look forward to talking with people personally. That's something I just deeply enjoy. But I want to encourage you on one thing. And I first want to ask that you do this to yourself, but I'll challenge you. In fact, I'll give you your money back if this doesn't work. And that is, when you go about engaging with people in your day, try to grab hold of that place inside of you that you can look at them with a brotherly love. I'm not even saying you have to like them. I know that's a weird sort of thing. But if you engage with it, I'm even saying on the phone, on a video call, in person. Now, careful, you don't necessarily want to say it out loud. That can be weird in certain situations. But I will tell you that if you engage with that heart emotion, it'll change things. It'll change your interaction with that person. It'll change you. And that's the piece that I think is actually most intriguing, is the change that it can have in you. So that would be my one encouragement, is I think if we all did that more, we could make the world a better place and actually be quite a bit more successful.
Beautifully said. I love that. Paul, thank you so much for your time today.
Ammar, privileged to be with you. Thank you very much.
So that wraps up another inspiring, insightful episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to go to paulyankey.com, go to Amazon, free, the only way to sell, Paul Yankey, grab a copy. And once you're done doing that, come back and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. And if you're a business owner and you're looking to scale your business and really enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then, keep on climbing.